Welcome. Welcome to the Transformational Leadership Series webinar and Lunch and Learn. It's good to see you guys in the house. Hey, for those of you guys that are getting online, we're thankful that you're here. Thank you for jumping in. You guys are missing Savannah's for lunch today. So I told you if you guys wanted to come in, we've got their famous pimento cheese sandwiches. Who got the pimento cheese? Anyone?
I did.
You got one? So there's still one over there? Mm-hmm. Okay, that'll be for me later. That is my favorite. So if you've been to Savannah's, you like Savannah's, put Savannah's in the chat, let us know, and welcome to this is our 5th Transformational Leadership Series webinar and Lunch and Learn that we've done so far this year, once a month. And so we're excited to be doing that. As we get going today, I'm going to ask Christy. She's going to come up and she's going to do a welcome from Meta Staffing Services. We're a little short-handed with some people today. You got people in the chat who are going to welcome you as well. You guys that are getting online, go ahead and let us know that you're there. They're going to be greeting you and making sure that you got your notes. But Christy, with Meta Staffing, come welcome everybody from Meta.
Sure. Thank you, Rick, so much. So I do welcome you to June's Transformational Leadership Series webinar and Lunch and Learn. I have the privilege of working with Meta Staffing, and I've worked for them for the last 13 years or so. And we specialize really in finding the right match to the right open jobs within your company. This is right in line with Rick's teamwork, leadership training that he does and high performance teamwork. So my hope is to have the opportunity at Meta Staffing to be able to work with you and your company from temporary to professional career placements. Just know that Meta Staffing has a heart to be able to find the right match for you. So with that, I wanted to say welcome to Transformational Leadership, and I hope to have the opportunity to service you soon within your company.
So, Christy, you're walking away. Do you guys got any jobs at Meta?
200 and something.
So I think you guys that are in the chat today, the president and COO of Meta Staffing is actually going to be talking to you guys in the chat. And so if you guys have jobs or you need employees, you're looking for candidates, I'm sure you can reach out to them. And I also want to put a shout out. So Chad's on the road to Dallas today with the Economic Alliance Houston Port Region. They're one of our sponsors as well. And so I want to let you guys know this. And it's almost all women in the room, 2 brave men that show up, but we appreciate the group that's here. But there is a Women in Leadership luncheon coming up. And so they thought they were going to get 60. They're up to over 300 women. They've had to change the venue. So Chad Burke and I are going to be attending. Our skirts will be knee length. It'll be okay. So Chad will kill me for that later. But I think, Maricela, you're in there. I think there may still be some seats available. If you want to register for the Women in Leadership Luncheon, the speaker is going to be the new, I think she's the ECMA director.
Yes.
Is it
Yep.
Mudd? What's her?
Mary Jane Mudd.
Mary Jane Mudd. Mary Jane Mudd is the new ECMA director. She's going to be the speaker. We have a lot of neat things going on. So if you want to be a part of that with the Economic Alliance, they're really here as the liaison for the port, for industry, for government, for leadership, anything to do with industry and business that comes into the Houston region through the port. The Houston Economic Alliance is your partner to answer those questions and to connect those dots. So we're thankful to Meta Staffing Services, and we're thankful to the Economic Alliance that's co-sponsoring or sponsors this with us every month. So guys, I'm excited you're in the room, a little more energy today. The room looks a little fuller, so we're excited you guys still have a chance to be here. But we're going to jump in. As you guys know, it's fast and furious. We're going to talk about high-performance teamwork, and I want to thank you guys for giving of your time, as I do always. You're investing in yourselves when you show up to these things, taking the lunch off. You're investing in your leadership, your own personal growth. You're not only making yourself better for you, but you're making yourself better for the people that you work with, regardless of your role. So thank you for making that investment. Hey, if you guys have been a part of this before and has added value, put value in the chat for us so we know that. If this is your first time, and how many of you guys are first timers in here? Just a couple of you. Okay, we've got a couple first timers in the room. If it's your first time online to join us with a webinar, go ahead and put first time in there so we can identify you. And remember, we've got people on that chat talking. If you've got questions, they're going to engage you as we go through. So we're excited to see you guys. We're excited to be here with everybody in the house. Quick reminder as well, this is worth SHRM credit. So if you want to get credit, I don't know how many credits it is. I don't remember. We've got those here in-house for you to take with you. If you're online and you want SHRM credit, they're going to put Valerie Smith, vsmith@meta.com. She's going to make sure to get you your certificate so that you can get some credit for being here. We try to make sure that everything we do adds value to you guys. And that means that this is credit for those who need credit every month that we do it. And so we work hard to make sure that we're offering value to you, not just more information. You hear me say this all the time. Not any one of you need more information. We need to just do something with the information that we've already got. So if we're going to ask you to give of your time, we want to make sure when you walk away from here that you've got some real takeaways that you can begin to apply in your life and in your organization today. So real quickly, I'm not going to spend a lot of time with this. Make sure we're on. I want to introduce myself. For those of you guys that are new, I won't spend a lot of time here. My name is Rick Thorson. I'm the owner and founder of Right Now Leadership. I've been in this area for 30 years. Working in education, in ministry. I've had a coffee shop and a bookstore, an entrepreneur. But my passion in my heart is to add value to others. I love the aha moments. I love coaching people. And when they get that, the light bulb goes on. Have you ever had that moment when someone says something and you go, oh, I get it? I love being a part of that with people. I work with individuals and teams and organizations around communication and leadership development and training. So if you see anything that you like, I want to encourage you guys to let me know. I'd be glad to bring it into your organization. One other thing that's new that we just created is a platform that has all the past webinars we've done. The 4 previous ones are on the platform. In the link, for those of you that are watching this through the webinar, I think they're going to put a link in there for you now and then afterwards. If you want to go and see any of the last webinars we've done, there's a landing page there where you can go and do that. You can learn about the newsletter that we do. I do a monthly leadership newsletter and other ways to connect with the information and things that we're bringing you. So most important, I've been married 30 years. I have 2 amazing kids, and I love my family. I love just living life in this area with them, and we have a good time together. So that's really where my priorities are and my goal is. My goal is today to make sure that you leave with value, and so I want to talk to you about that. Here's what you can expect today as we go through this. There's a few things we're going to do to make sure that you get the most out of this time. First is we're going to take a closer look at really what makes up a great team and what that looks like. We're going to help define team a little bit and teamwork. We're going to look at 2 of the 17 laws of irrefutable, as John Maxwell calls it, teamwork. And we'll talk about 2 of those as our launching pad for today. We're going to talk about how to get the right people in the right seat on your team and how to know if they're in the right seat. And then we're going to talk about, are you in the right seat? So we'll do a little self-reflection to see where you are in your team and how you feel about where you're positioned to actually function your greatest strength. All right, here's my first breath. So y'all take a, okay? We'll take a breath as we go through, and we're going to just continue to pour some leadership and some value into you guys. So here's what I know. Here's the next slide. 17 indisputable, irrefutable laws of teamwork. Teamwork is something I'm passionate about, and it applies to every one of us. Regardless of how you see it or define it, teamwork is required of all of us to succeed in anything we do. One of my personal core values is relationship. And I believe that we are stronger together than we are apart. See, I love being a part of teams. I've played in sports from high school to college to a little bit after college. And I love working with others. I find my greatest strength when I can collaborate or pull on the resources, the wisdom, and the knowledge of those around me. We are stronger, smarter, more creative, more innovative together than we are apart. And so that's why I love doing masterminds. We often do masterminds around these different topics where we bring people in the room and we learn from one another. Because right now, with the 12 of you in this room, plus you guys that are around the tables in the webinar world, I am in this room 12 times smarter today sitting here than I would be if you weren't here. And I believe that. If I had an issue, a problem, a challenge, if something was driving me, I would be able to tap into the resource and leadership of each of you. Okay? So how many of you think that, how many of you work on a team? Let's do that first. How many of you are on a team or a part of a team? Online, put team in the chat if you're on a team or part of a team. Okay? So all of us should be a part of a team. Let me explain it this way. If you are part of an organization, you're part of a team. It's not just being a team that you work with for a specific objective, right? But it's the team that you're a part of in the organization that you work with to achieve and accomplish an objective. Whether you work at a front desk, whether you're a line worker, Whether you are the team lead or you're responsible for a project, wherever you fit in the organization, you are actually a part of that organization's team. I'm checking to see if we're good online. Are you guys all okay online? Okay.
Yes.
I've got my team working over here and they got me a little nervous. So if you guys are online and okay, I've got a rookie handling the buttons today.
Exactly.
You know, we've got some shorthanded people. So I'm thankful for Christy, but she's doing dual duty. So before we get started, I want you to consider and answer a question for me, okay, as we get started. The question is this. It's not, will you participate in something that involves others? That's not the question. The question is, will your involvement with others be successful? That's really the question. And then the question is, will you add value to those that you work with? And even deeper than that, will you allow those that you work with to add value to you? You may also, oh, of course I will. But the reality is when I work with teams and organizations all the time, sometimes it's hard to take input, to allow others to add value to us because we think we know it all. Now, you wouldn't say that, and that's no one in this room or on this webinar. But we think because we know certain things that it's harder for us to take input and be part of a team. Today, we're going to look at teamwork through the lens of John Maxwell's book, The 17 Irrefutable Laws of Teamwork, and 2 of those laws. If you're part of an organization, then you're a part of a team. So one of my mentors is John Maxwell. He is the #6 all-time seller on Amazon as far as books. He has published over 200 books. He has got over a dozen that have been the New York Times bestseller list. He is what they call a guru in global leadership. And I've been fortunate enough to be around him, to sit with him personally over the years, but to be mentored by him indirectly through what he does and directly as being an executive director for the John Maxwell team. So a lot of my leadership and my style and the resources I use come from John Maxwell. But I want to share a quote with you, and I love this quote. He says, for the person trying to do everything alone, the game is over. I want you to hear that. For the person trying to do everything alone, the game is already over. If you want to do something big, then you must link up with others. How many of you believe that in here? Do you guys believe that? So it's true. We know it's true. The challenge is how do we do it? And here's the other thing that we're going to talk about. The challenge isn't the technical part of working together, what your role is, your job responsibilities. What's the hardest part? And I'm going to ask you guys to put in the chat. What's the hardest part of working together on a team? What is it? You guys know, don't think too hard. It's what?
Asking for help.
Asking for help. It's relationships. It's not your job duty. Like, I know my job is to produce a widget, and that's my role in the team is to put the peg in the hole, right? That's easy. But when I have to do it with other people, when I've got to talk to someone, when I've got to engage someone, right, then we have a problem. So the issue with teamwork isn't our assignment. It's actually relationship. And we're going to talk about that. But I love some more quotes. I love me some Vince Lombardi. So this is a great quote. And I'm not a Packer fan. I grew up in Chicago. I'm a Bear fan. Well, I'm a Texan fan. I know I still am. But I'm a Chicago Bear fan. My dad was a Packer. I won't get into it. But I do like Lombardi. He said this, individual commitment is to group effort. That is what makes a team work. It's what makes a company work. It's what makes a society work, and even goes into the whole world, right? What makes civilization work, teamwork. It's how we survive. I love what Ken Blanchard said. He's a leadership trainer, teacher, author, speaker. He says, no one of us is as smart as all of us. That's that mastermind idea. And then Henry Ford, he's an innovator in our world. He was a pioneer. He's made an indelible mark in our nation and around the world. And I love what he says, and this is so true. He says, coming together is the beginning. Keeping together is progress. Working together is success. And that's really true. Would you guys agree with that statement? I really think that's true. Now we're going to do a little music trivia. How many of you like or know or have heard of the band The Rolling Stones?
Oh, of course.
Yeah, everybody's like, well, duh, Rick, right? Now, I don't know if there was a 20-year-old in here that might be different, but even the 20-year-olds have heard of them, because I want to talk to you about this. What does it look like for a great team to be successful over a long period of time, like, say, 50 years of performing? The Rolling Stones have been performing together successfully for over 50 years. In fact, I'll even tell you this. In this webinar, with one of our partners, Metter Staffing. They've been in business for over 50 years, successfully leading in the industry and in this region in our nation for 50 years. What does it take to be successful with a team of people, and in the Metter's case, a shift of people over 50 years? There is no one in the company any longer except for Ben Metter himself that's been there for 50 years. I think my Melinda Thorson has been there for 34, maybe 35. There's Linda Fields has been there for 110. No, sorry, Linda. All right, I got you. She's been there for about the same, right? But everyone else is new. It's turnover. So there has to be a culture built within the organization that says team is important, that teamwork is vital. So here's the thing with the Rolling Stones. It's a great example of teamwork, right? They're still performing, but here's what they do. They get together 2 months prior to any concert date, and they spend 2 months rehearsing, getting to know each other again, working on their rhythms and the riffs and the music and the communication that's required to be successful when they get on stage. And here I want you to hear this, because this is what they believe. I don't know who said this to the Rolling Stones, but I found this quote. They understood that before you could truly be successful, this is what they said, you need to define and agree on a shared approach to working together. Without it, everyone is pulling in different directions. That's a band, and now it's a big time band, but they understood that you have to define and agree. Definition is not good enough. You guys all know this. You've all said, oh, we know what it means, but if we don't agree on how to live it out, how to engage it, then we're still pulling in opposite directions. We're still not functioning as a team. And then they said you need to practice it over and over and over again. So before every tour, they get together, they practice. This is teamwork. You begin in tune with your team to where you don't always have to say something, but you know it because you built that relation. You can look at your teammate and do the old eye thing, where you're kind of, or the head bob or the sigh, and they know what you're saying. They know what you're doing because of the teamwork and the connection that you have. Okay, so here's something I promised you guys in the lead up to this. I talked about it in the promotion of this, and the question was, do you know what Ubuntu means? How many of you had heard of that before or knew that? Anybody in the room? If you had heard about it online, you already knew it. I know some of you did because you sent me a note. Just put Ubuntu in the chat, right, if you knew what it means. But I want to share this with you because I think it's powerful, right? And it's from Nelson Mandela, and it's from Africa. Nelson Mandela, he shared this insight. I want to read it to you. He says, in Africa, there is this concept known as Ubuntu. It's the profound sense that we are human only through the humanity of others. We are human only through the humanity of others. That if we are to accomplish anything in this world, he said, it will in equal measure be due to the work and achievement of others. When you think about apartheid and you think about Mandela's role in that and what he went through to then stand in leadership to cross boundaries of those who were attacking and accusing and subverting and oppressing, yet standing in that and working across lines for something greater. That's really what teamwork is about. It's about coming together for something greater. We should put that on a t-shirt, right? Because here's what it means. It means I am because we are. I am because we are. So we've got some music in the background here, so some of you start dancing and we'll...
Somebody's purse is going on.
It's a purse. Oh, okay, sorry guys, it's real time. This is what you get when you come live. You get some background music, some dancers in the corner. You are missing out, okay? All right, so let's keep going. Let's keep jumping in. Teamwork has many aspects to it. And the more you learn about it, the better you're going to become at it. It's like anything else. The more you understand, the more you learn, the more you engage it, the stronger you will be in it. The time we have isn't enough to really get deep into this. Remember, these are lunch and learn. So I'm going to come hot and heavy. I'm going to give you some information, some practical things, but we will by no means go deep. If you want to go deep, I'd love to go deep with you guys in your organization. We do half-day and full-day trainings and workshops on team development and team growth. So the two components are from the book that we're going to talk about, two critical components. The first one that we're going to talk about is the law of significance. The second one will be the law of the niche. Okay, and so I'm going to give a couple of those books away today to people in the room. Sorry again if you're online. There's benefits of showing up, all right? But before I do that, I want to do this. I want to start by defining team. So you guys that are online, if you're able to put in the chat, what does it mean? What does team mean to you? And you guys in the room, help me out, speak up, they'll be able to hear you. Define team for me. Give me a quick idea. What does team mean to you? How would you define it? Come on, participate, play.
Everyone working together.
Okay, so we know the acronym team. Together, everyone achieves more. Everyone working together, right? That's the obvious one. What else would you say? How else might you say team is? How would you define it? Collaboration. Yeah.
Supportive.
Say it again. Supportive. Yeah, great word. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You guys online, put some stuff in the chat. They're going to be interacting with you, right? Typically, our first thought when we hear the word team, when someone talks about a team, is what? Where do we go typically when someone mentions team? Sports, right? We think about athletics. And right now we're in the NBA playoffs. Now, I played basketball, high school, college, a little bit after college, so I love basketball. I have not been watching a lot of the NBA, but I like watching the playoffs because the level of play and some of the things that happen there are more than just I like college better, so I'll watch college more. But right now, if you look at the playoffs, hockey's are in the playoffs as well. If you look at those teams that have made it to the highest level, that are competing for the ultimate prize, there is no way they've gotten there with one person being a superstar. And we could talk about this all day long. Michael Jordan, the best basketball player, I believe, ever, right? Who did more, drove more people, but he could not have done it on his own. And until he got a Scottie Pippen and a Dennis Rodman and the team around him, he couldn't get over the hump. So, I mean, there's a whole lesson there that we could just sit right there and talk about what teams look like and how do we grow teams. But they have to function and do it together. So we know what a team is, but what separates a good team from a great team? Any idea? You guys can put in the chat. What separates a good team from a great team?
Communication.
Man, I love that. The room said at the same time, communication. The ability to communicate effectively. Quick plug, the very first one we did of this Transformational Leadership Series is on communication. Why was it the first one? Because that's the foundation to all success. Communication is the foundation to all success. Not just any communication, but effective communication. We talked about the DISC. We talked about understanding our unique communication style. We offer DISC inventories for the people that were part of this, and they're still available if you'd like to know more about that. But here's the thing about great teams. Great teams have great leaders. Now, we could spend time defining leadership, and we did that in our second Transformational Leadership Seminar. We spent that whole luncheon talking about what is leadership, what does it look like, how do you define it, and what is a transformational leader. But great teams have great leaders, and that's critical to build a team. And that great leader isn't a great leader because they can do all the work. It's because they allow and facilitate a culture of teamwork to where everyone feels valued and a part. That's one of the aspects of a great leader. What I've seen in working with companies, especially over the last 18 months, is they've been really struggling as they've had to work together and had to come up to in teams and just the challenges they've had. There's been a lot of communication challenges. There's been a lot of relational challenges. And what I've seen working with companies is when the leader fails to promote teamwork, that actually undermines the potential of that team. It erodes their ability to be truly effective. And that's just the reality that we're learning. And so we're seeing more and more people coming at, help me build my teams, help me define leadership, help me build a leadership track of people to replace those that are retiring and leaving. How do we build succession planning in leading? Leading is not just, it's an aside, so here's a bonus for you, I won't charge you. Leadership is not just the ability to get a job done. It's very critical, but leadership is the ability to grow people that are willing to grow people, that are willing to work together to meet a common objective. Leadership is about growing the people and the team towards the organizational objective, right? Not doing all, that's a manager getting it done. It's okay, enough there, we won't spend any more time there. So bottom line is team implies more than one person. Now we know this, and I love what John Maxwell says. Let's see, where are we at? Have I been, Christy, I've been behind, so here's where we're at right now. We're going to go to the next one in a minute. Sorry, I was so focused. Sorry, Christy. I know I'm making this hard for you. So the bottom line is team implies more than one person. I love what John Maxwell says. when he says one is too small of a number to achieve greatness. In the notes, in your notes that you've downloaded, hopefully you guys downloaded those notes. They were put in the chat. I want to ask you guys a question as we begin to set this foundation, right? Who are those people that you work with? Who are the people that support you? Who is that plus one in your teams, in your organizations that you work with? It's an important distinction to understand that all the players on the team have a role to play in a position to sit in. So in the law of significance, which we're going to dive into, and the law of the niche says that every player on the team has to have a place to play. They have to have a seat to be in, right? So people can add value. Here's the key to that statement. People can add value to teams in their roles, but we want people in the right role, the role where their gifting is going to be strongest. Because when we put them in that role, even though they can do multiple roles, the team will accelerate and do extraordinary things. So let's look at the law of significance. We'll spend a couple minutes here. You can have a little fun with this, all right? So the law of significance says, we already said this, one is too small of a number to achieve greatness. You guys understand that? Agree with that? It absolutely is. And we're going to dig into that. To prove my point, I want to see how well you guys can recall great teams throughout history. So I'm going to say a name, and you're going to give me their teammate or their partner. I'm going to demonstrate my age a little bit in this, so we'll see how this goes. I'm going to give you half of the team. You're going to give me the other half. You guys online, if you're typing, go ahead and throw it in there. We'll see who can put that in there first. So here we go. I'm going to start you with an easy one. Superhero team, right? Batman and?
Robin.
Okay. That's from my childhood. Remember though? Anyone watch the old Batman? I mean, the original ones?
Yeah.
Where the biff and the boom and the bam and the, yeah, okay. I'm showing, I know I don't look that old, I know, but I am. So, all right, here's another one, cartoons. I grew up in the days of cartoons that were very simple cartoons, right? They weren't the cartoons today and all the stuff that's going on. So I'm going to go back to my past for the two cartoons that I loved watching on a Saturday morning. How about this one? Famous pair, Tom and Jerry. Very good. Here's going to go a little bit harder now. And this one, they probably wouldn't even play today. This may not be socially or politically correct to bring this one up. But I love this one. Wile E. Coyote and the Roadrunner, right? Yeah, that probably would be banned these days. Now, we've got Sesame Street. I can't believe that show is still going on. But it's still there. Our kids love it. It's a great educational program. So Bert and Ernie. How about for you old Astros fans? Biggio and? Oh, come on. Where is the rest of you? Biggio and Bagwell. Come on, Bags and Biz, right? The Killer Bees, right? New Astro fans, Correa and? Who would you put with Correa? Altuve, right? That's the association that we make. And then there's different kinds of teams. All right, this was a little tough for now. Peanut butter and?
Jelly.
Oh. You know, there's a song, I won't sing it, but we did it at youth camps. It's peanut butter. Sarah, I know you know the peanut butter jelly song. Come on. All right. Sorry, we don't have the time for the peanut butter jelly. But if you were here afterwards, Sarah's going to do the peanut butter jelly song for all of us. Just kidding. All right. So here's the this is why I said peanut butter and jelly. I want you guys to catch this. There's actually a point to this. How many of you remember when they took the peanut butter and jelly and they put it in one jar?
Yep.
How many of you guys liked that?
No.
Just put nasty in the chat because it's just nasty. There was something about when they pre-combined it that it was terrible. I hated it, right? There's something, and I want you guys to hear this because I think this is important. There's something about what they bring to the sandwich individually, peanut butter and jelly. One side is peanut butter, the other side is jelly. If you're like me, you put a little bit of butter underneath the peanut butter because you need more butter in the peanut butter. I'm sorry. There's something about the individuality that when you bring it together into a sandwich and you eat it, it is so good. But when it's pre-mixed and you lose the independence of the peanut butter and the jelly, and it's lost in the one, something is lost in that mix. Their strengths play off of each other rather than get lost in each other. A team. A team is not about looking the same, acting the same, smelling the same, thinking the same. A team is about the beauty of our diversity coming together and making something beautiful with our gifts and our strengths that are unique. We don't want a homogenous team. Everyone that thinks like the leader. You want to be challenged. You want individuality. You want creativity because when you bring that together, powerful things happen. And when you give freedom for that, powerful things happen. So just something to think about when you're looking at your teams. So you may want to have the PB&J teams, right? Just when you think about your team, think about PB&J, right, as you're putting your team together. You don't want to lose the uniqueness of your team. The strongest teams are the ones that value what each brings to the table. When they're brought together, everything is elevated. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about this other idea. And as we talk about teams a little bit more, we celebrate a lot of times in our teams this idea of human achievement. And so often we single out people for their great achievements, right? You can start thinking of names of people that win awards that are called as the most valuable player, or they win achievements. They're isolated as the best in their field. And we celebrate their individuality, their ability for that human achievement as a single person, an individual. We make them heroes of great accomplishment. But in reality, if you look below the surface, that person would never have made it if there wasn't a strong team behind them. Not everyone likes the limelight. Part of us, some of us, because of the way we're wired, we would not want to be in front. I like being in front. Doesn't make me better or worse than anyone else, but I don't mind it. I'm comfortable there. There's others who would just die if they thought they had to be in front. But it doesn't mean that they don't support, aren't just as valuable as the person in front. Every successful individual in life has had a successful group of people around them, empowering them and helping them to get to where they are. In reality, if you look below the surface, you will find that all seemingly solo acts were really team efforts. After all, the Lone Ranger had Tonto. In your notes, I want you to put down who are the Tontos in your life. It's on the left-hand margin in your notes. Because if we don't honor them, if you don't remember them, who are the people that helped you get where you are? Who are the people in your team, in your life, your relationship that have come alongside you and put their names down? And then I want to challenge you in that as well. Do they know that they're your Tonto? Have you told them how thankful you are that they're a part of your team, that they're a part of the organization, that they make you better because they're a part of it? If not, and you haven't told them, that would be my challenge this week, is go and tell them. Then I want you to think about this. Are you willing to be a Tonto? If you are going to be the Lone Ranger, you have to also learn to be a Tonto. Because in every situation, in every job, in every organization, there are times when certain people need to be elevated to be the Lone Ranger, the one in front, and those that will support. But if you're doing it rightly, you'll notice that the greatness of another individual who was in support may need to move to the front, and you may need to move to behind. Are you willing and able to do that? Not just intellectually, but in practice. You see, there's something special that happens when a group of people truly come together. A great team is made up of individuals who value the success of the team over their personal success. We can say that, but do our actions live that out? Now, I want to ask you a question. Okay, here's another one. Think about this. If I could give you the secret to increase creativity on your team or organization, to improve efficiency, if I could give you the secret to better quality work, to higher morale and lower turnover, if I could give you the secret to faster, more creative innovation, or greater ability to solve problems, would you invest in that secret? Would you buy that secret today? If I could give you that and guarantee those results, would you be interested? I would hope that all of you said yes. The secret isn't a secret. The secret is the power of your organization and teams. The secret is teamwork. Even if it's a short team mastermind that you bring together just for a moment, we think teams are about a certain project. No, your company is a team. And maybe your company and division is struggling with something. Turn to your team and ask them for questions and solutions and creativity. Utilize people, even if it's not their lane, to bring a fresh perspective to your team. One of the challenges we have with this, though, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, but to become team players, we need to dive in some of the reasons why people choose not to be a part of a team. I'm not going to spend time on it for the sake of time, but I do want you to understand that there are four main areas that keep us from working in teams. One is ego. People just don't want to do it. Their ego, their pride, it's hard for them to admit that they can't do something. So their ego gets in the way and it keeps them from being on the team. Second one is really what prevents us from being on team is insecurity. One of John's earlier books called The 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership, he says that only secure leaders give power to others. If leaders are not willing to give authority or power away, there could be an insecurity issue. I remember in my early days in pastoring a church, early on, I was supporting the pastor. But the more I grew my part of the church and the people that were engaged with me, the more the tension came with the senior pastor. Because he saw a tension between the two dichotomies of what was happening. Now, we worked through it, but there was that tension, right? Because of the insecurity of what was happening. And if you don't talk about it, if you don't recognize it, if you don't deal with it, it only brings division and separation. The third thing is naivety, right? This is where people underestimate the difficulty of achieving things together. They look at it and go, oh, it's not going to be that hard. It's simple. I can just do this. And the reality is they can't. And the last one is we talked about this temperament. It's our disc. Some people are just not wired. If you remember disc, if any of you are an S, do you know your disc? If you're an S in the room or a C in the room, C is very process analytical. They don't like teams. Remember I painted a picture about that group where you go to a party and the disc and the D and the I are the ones in the center of the circle who are cutting up, telling the story, and everyone's listening to. The S wants to be at the edge of the circle because they want to be there. They just don't want to be in the center. The C is the one on the couch. Remember we talked about that? They're on their phone just waiting for their spouse to tell them they can go. That's not a bad thing, right? It's how they're wired. We all have different places. And when we understand that, we give space to that, we become stronger. We don't try to ask someone to be in a position that they were never meant to be on. Make sense so far? You guys with me?
Absolutely.
So we're going to move on to our final area that keeps people from becoming teams, or that helps us to become strong in our teams. And I want to talk about this for just a second. The next couple of minutes, this is going to be more personal. So I am going to, we'll go one. I want to ask you guys, it's kind of a personal exercise. So you guys online, if you guys, I want you to think through this from a personal perspective and follow along as I ask you some questions. I want you to right now just take a second and think about a major goal or dream or vision that you have in your life that you want to accomplish. I want you to put it, I want you to see it. I want you to feel it. I want you to get it as clear as you can. It could be professional, personal, a lifelong dream. What is it? I want you to think through that. You could write it in the margin of your notes. In the left margin on your notes, there's a place you could write that. Now, I want you to picture that goal as clear as you can. Imagine it in your mind. Okay, if we had more time, we'd spend a little more time here, but hopefully you've all got something. With that image in mind, I want you to answer these questions, okay? Are you building a team to accomplish it? Or are you pursuing to go on it alone? Wherever you are in the process, it's not here yet, it's there. But are you looking into it and going, I'm going to build a team to accomplish it? Or have you just been building your own little world around it, that it's just something you have to do and only you can do? And I know there's only things that you can do, but I promise you it's not something that only you can do. Now, if you're part of a team, here's some more questions I want you to ask. And these 4 questions are actually the keys to growing great teams. The first one is, if you're going to have a team, the first question is, are you sharing vision regularly? If you're in the process, are you sharing vision regularly? This isn't in your notes. You can write it off to the side. But these are 4 keys to growing great teams. Questions you should be asking yourself. 1, are you sharing the vision regularly? 2, are you equipping your team for success? Are you giving them what they need to be successful in the role and the expectation that you set out for them? It's one thing to say to them, here's what I want you to do. It's another thing to make sure that they have the tools necessary. I talk about this with people all the time in my training of leaders. There's 2 factors that determine the success of someone working on a project: motivation and ability. So anyone who's struggling to get something, you've given an assignment to someone. This is just an ad, right? This is an add-on. You give them an assignment and they're not getting it done. And you're their leader and you're trying to figure out, why are they not accomplishing the objective you set out? Usually it's one of 2 things. They're either not motivated or they don't have what they need to get it done. How do you know the difference? Well, if you were to put a gun to their head and said, if you don't do what I'm asking you, I'm pulling the trigger. And if they go right at it and they start doing it, the problem is motivation. If they look at you and shrug their shoulders and say, well, see you later, it's not motivation. They don't have what it takes to be able to get it done. Our job as leaders is we need to know how to provide motivation and ability and know which is missing and know how to tap into that to get them to be successful. That's just a freebie, right? So we add that on there. So the third one, so I said sharing vision regularly, equipping your team for success, empowering them with authority. Are you giving them the authority to actually do it, or do you micromanage? Do you give it and pull it back? Give it and micromanage the check-in, where they don't really feel like they can make decisions. And the biggest thing is they don't feel like they can fail. It sounds crazy, but you want to give your people the freedom to fail, because when they have the freedom to fail, knowing that they're not a failure, then they will risk and they will go for it, and they'll give everything they have to it because they're not afraid. Otherwise, they hold back and they don't really give it all because they're afraid to let you down or disappoint you or not meet your expectation. So you have to be able to empower them with the authority to succeed and to fail. The last one I'd give you real quickly is encouraging them to take initiative. Do you give them the freedom to make decisions, take initiative, to take risks? That's if you're building a team. Now I'm going to give you 4 quick things if you're going it alone. First of all, you need to figure out why you're going it alone. And so there's 4 questions you need to ask yourself. If you have this dream and this vision, and it's been in you and you're thinking about it, but you've been keeping it in isolation, there's 4 questions you need to ask yourself. First one is it a matter of ego? Why are you not bringing people in? Is it a matter of ego? Second question you need to ask yourself is, could it be insecurity? Going back to the things we said. Are you insecure, afraid to give it away? Third thing is, were you naive and it became bigger than you thought, so the fear came in and you just froze? Or do you simply prefer to work alone? That could be the answer. So if you're doing this alone, I encourage you to overcome that and figure out who you can enlist to help you with it. Who complements your style? Who is strong in the areas you struggle? Okay, so let's talk about this next one, and we're going to finish up here. We've got about 15 minutes left. We'll get done here before 1 o'clock. We'll have some time for some Q&A. But I want to talk about the second law. It's the law of the niche. And the law of the niche says this: all players have a place where they add the most value to the team. Now, when we think about high-performing teams, they require more than just the right people. Right? You can have the right people, but there's more you've got to think about when you're putting together a high-performance team. You may have a group of talented individuals, but if each person is out for their own gain, is out for their own stuff, is out for their own benefit, then the team's not going to reach its potential. Leading a successful team involves putting people in spots where they can excel. I mean, it truly does. Let's think into this real quickly. What would happen on your team if think about the teams that you're on or your organization, what would happen on your team if everyone suddenly had to switch roles and assignments? What would happen? Just give me some feedback. You can put it in the chat. If everyone had to switch roles and assignments, what's going to happen?
Chaos.
Okay, thank you. One word, chaos. Oh, I can do what you do. That's not that hard. Oh, really? I can do what you do. I mean, you just answer the phone all day. All you're doing is put stuff in the computer. You know, we don't say that, right? I'm not saying that we live that out loud, but we have this idea that our job is the most important, right? And so we live in that way. And if you just had everybody mix your seats up, it would be chaos, right? When the right team member is in the right place, everyone benefits. Good things happen to teams when a player takes the place where he adds the most value. Now, yes, sometimes we have to be in different places. Sometimes we have to do things we're not as comfortable with. Absolutely true. But when we can make sure that people are in that place where their gifts are able to be used, great things happen. When all players on the team take the role that maximizes their strengths, their talent, their skill, their experience. That's the power of the niche. Okay? So here's a quote. I love this quote. This is Jim Collins. If you don't have the book or haven't read the book, Good to Great, when we talk about good teams and great teams, he unpacks it. He's an amazing author. Every leader should have this book. It's called Good to Great. Here's one of the things that he talked about and has been used, and people are familiar with. They've heard this. He says in Good to Great, he created this lasting and memorable metaphor by comparing a business to a bus and a leader as the bus driver. Right? You guys may be familiar with this. How many of you have ever read the book? Anybody read the book? If you've read the book online, just put Good to Great in there. Let us know that you've read it. I'd be curious to know how many have read it. He emphasizes that it's crucial to continuously ask the question, first who, then what? That sounds like, oh yeah, of course. That's not how we do things. That's not typically how we run things. So imagine that you're a bus driver. The bus your company is, the bus company that you're a bus driver for is at a standstill, right? It's your job to get it going. So that bus is at a standstill, and you've got to get it going again. You have to decide where you're going, how you're going to get there, and who's going to go with you, right? Those are the three things. Think about what you would do first. You have to decide where you're going, how you're going to get there, who's going to go with you. And you got to prioritize that action. Most people assume that great bus drivers or great business leaders immediately start the journey by announcing to the people what? Where they're going. Right? Because that's the buy-in. Here's where we're going. But what Collins talks about and what he says is that's the wrong place to start. By setting a new direction or by articulating a fresh corporate vision, they think that's it. In fact, leaders of companies that go from good to great start not with where, but with who. With who. The most important, you can have the best vision in the world, the best map in the world, the best ideas in the world. If you don't have the best people in the world to get there, it won't matter. And then you'll do all the work and you'll drag them there and you'll lose people along the way. The goal is not where. We can cast the vision. The goal is who are you going to take with you? Great leaders fill their teams with great people. Who are they going to take with them? They start by getting the right people on the bus. The wrong people, the Collins says this, the wrong people off the bus. The right people in the right seats, and they stick with that with discipline. First the people, then the direction, and no matter how dire the circumstances, they stay that course. Okay? So let's talk about this a little bit more. Just about everyone is experienced on being on some kind of team where your skills and your gifts didn't fit. Anybody been in the wrong spot on a team where you were asked to do something, put somewhere, and on the chat put wrong spot? We were just in the wrong spot. You could put wrong seat, right? Great skills, great talents, love the company. You got there, you thought it was one thing, and the next thing you know, you're doing another thing, and you're realizing they need you there because you're a good person, you're a good leader, you're a good communicator, but you're not in your wheelhouse. You're not in your rhythm. You're not in your passion. So you labor at it, but you suffer in it. But who else suffers? The team, the organization. I was a pastor for almost 15, 20 years, and churches are the worst at this. They love the leaders of, oh, you're such a good leader. You did so good over there. You need to now be in charge of this, and we need to move you. And they're thinking, no, I'm a servant. I just like to do this, but I did it so well. You're promoting me over here out of my gifts and out of my strengths. And then they wonder why it didn't work out and why they're frustrated or why they leave. It's the same thing in business. We often praise the person for being versatile, but eventually that person gets frustrated and the team suffers because the positions are not being filled with people working in their strengths. And you can all think of times in your life where that's applied to you. I could tell you the stories for me. It was playing basketball. My high school was a small high school. I was a pretty good basketball player. I was the tallest guy on the team at 6'3". Small country. I mean, that's not tall today, but I was a giant. Right? I was tall for our team, but I was a point guard. I was a shooting guard. But on our team, I had to play center. So I had to guard the guys that were 6'3", 6'4", 6'5", everybody bigger. I was out of position. I could do it. I needed to do it, but we never achieved what we could have because we had to play out of position. Because we thought that was more important than actually, that's defensive posture, than actually putting us in our strengths and being offensive about living into what we're good at, not trying to defend what we can't do or what we're not good at. I hope that makes sense. So let's talk about this. We call this the square peg, round hole. All right, have you ever heard that? Square peg, round hole syndrome. Maybe you're in a job where you felt lost and asked to do something you were unqualified to do, or you took a job thinking it was one thing and it became something else. That not only frustrates you, but it holds the team back. I'm sure it hindered the success of your organization. Now I want you to do this, self-reflection real quickly. Think about a team, your team right now, the team you work with. Is everyone in the right seat? Just think about it. Are they in the right seat? Are you sure? Do you know, or do you just think it? Or have you asked them? Have you actually sat down with them to make sure that they're in the right seat? Then the question would be, are you in the right seat? Having the right people in the right place is essential to team building. Okay, let's take a look at this a little closer. I'm going to go through this last part real quickly, but it's important that you guys understand this. And this is in your notes, but here's what we need to understand. The wrong person in the wrong place. When you have the wrong person in the wrong place on your team regresses. They're going to go backwards. They're not going to excel. They're not going to move forward. So as you're thinking about teams, your current team or teams that you're bringing in, people you're hiring, the wrong person in the wrong place equals regression. The wrong person in the right place equals frustration. You've been there. You're the wrong person, but you're in the right place. Right? So it's right here, but it's not me. The team is frustrated. The people are frustrated. You're frustrated. What about the right person in the wrong place? Now you're the right person, but you're not in the right seat. That just brings confusion. Because you're like, why am I here? Why are you looking at me to lead? Why am I doing this when this is not anything I'm good at? And then the team's confused and the leadership's confused, right? This leads to people going, why aren't they in a different role? They start questioning leadership. They start questioning positioning. And it might be obvious to everyone who's there, but for some reason, they haven't been moved to the place of their strengths. In these three examples that I just shared with you, how far, let me ask you a question, how far would a team go with these three words that you just heard? Regression, frustration, confusion. How far is that team going to go? How successful will they be? And the answer is obvious, right? It's not far. Now let's see what happens when the right person is in the right place. When we get things in order and aligned rightly, everything changes. The right person in the right place, progression, movement. You're going to go somewhere. Now the right people, now it's a team. The right people in the right place equals multiplication. You not only grow, get somewhere, you're growing your team, you're growing your efforts, you're multiplying your productivity and your results. Does that make sense? Yeah. So the right person in the right place. This is when a person's talents, skills, experiences, passions align with the role that they're in. The right people in the right place. It's when many people are in all the right places for them, multiplication occurs. In this environment, morale improves, people are more energized, ideas start flowing, creativity is generated, innovation comes forth, and the overall results of your organization improve. The goal of the leader is then to put people in their, well, maybe that's not the right way to say that. We're going to put people in their place. Right? But you guys understand what I mean. The goal of the leader is to make sure and ensure that people are in the right place in the organization. And sometimes that takes humility. It takes the ability to say, I got this wrong. Or I thought I could do something and I couldn't from the employee. And saying, you know, I thought I was, and I wasn't. And I'm not in the place where I can give you my strength. It's the ability to have that communicating. So the goal of leaders is then to put people in their places, to be able to put people in the places that utilize their talents and maximize the team's potentials. You need three things, and they're on the slide and they're in your notes. The first thing you need to know is you must know the team. You can't build a winning team or organization if you don't know that they're what the team is trying to do and where they're trying to go, why it's trying to get there. So you have to know your team. It starts with knowing their history, the culture, the vision, and the purpose. Second thing you need to do is you need to know the situation. Good team builders know where their team is and what the situation requires and the challenges that they're going to come up against. If a team is young and inexperienced, the priority must be to gather good people around them to grow them up, the mentoring, the sowing, the investing. And the third one is you need to know the player. Taking time to know your people is extremely valuable. It's about relationship. Remember what I said when we started? The issue isn't their skill set. Can they do a skill? Are they trained? Do they have the competency? It's another training we did on hiring, right? Competency, character, and culture. Competency isn't the issue. There's a lot of competency out there. Character and culture, or the people skills, the relational skills, is where everything breaks down. You can be the best worker in the world and know everything about the job and the task, but if you can't work in a team, if you can't communicate, if you can't work, it's eventually going to break down. So then you must know the team, the situation, and the player. So you also need to know the situation, right? So good team builders, know their team, the situation requires, and the changes that are coming. And then you also, as I said before, you need to know the player. So let's talk about the last thing we'll do as we finish up, last couple minutes. And we won't spend a lot of time here, but I think I want you guys to process this. You need to know yourself. Whether you're leading a team or a part of a team, in order to put the right people in the right place, it starts by finding the place that's right for you. If you're in it, awesome. If you're not, you need to start thinking about what does it look like to get there. Because you don't want to wake up 10, 15, 20 years from now and you've wasted your skills and your ability. It's not just a loss to you, but it's a loss to the organization. And so there has to be that partnership and the culture that organization values team. So when you discover your place, you'll say this, and I love this statement: there's no place like this place, anywhere near this place, so this must be the place. And we'll say it again. When you are in that place, the right place, you're going to say this: there's no place like this place, anywhere near this place, so this must be the place for me. All players have a place where they add the most value. So no matter where you are, it requires time and energy and relationship to get there. But I'm going to give you some questions quickly to go through. I don't think they're in the notes. They're not, but they're in your notes, and they're in the column, in the margin in your notes. So here's some questions you can ask yourself and do some research. I won't read them all. Talk to your spouse or significant other, close friends about your strengths and weaknesses. Ask your leader for your leader's assessment. Take a personality test. Go through the DISC. I offer that to anybody. You can get your personal DISC test. Just let me know. I'll send it to you, help you understand. What are you passionate about? How well can you articulate your life's purpose? What are your hobbies and interests? Those are the questions you should be digging into. To help people understand their niche, the process is pretty similar, but it always starts with asking them good questions. So we're going to close with this quote, and I love it. What leaders can do in tandem with a great team far outpaces what they can accomplish on their own. So as we wrap up, I want to share just a couple things with you as we go through this. And this is one of the things that we talk about all the time. And I'm really passionate about this. I want you to take 30 seconds, and you can do it later, but in the margin, there's a place that says, what did you learn? There's 3 things I always try to do, and I say this all the time. When I talk or present or teach or train, or it doesn't matter what I'm doing, I want to make sure you're learning something, right? But we don't need to learn something just to learn it. Learning means nothing if we don't apply it. So the question becomes, write down one thing you learned today. What did you hear? An aha. What is something on that? That's good. I needed to know that. That reinforces. What's a learn? What's one learn? Write it down. But that learn means nothing. It's just information if you don't talk about and think about how will it impact how I live. So the second thing I always ask is, what did you learn? How will you live what you learn? What changes will happen because of that learning? And the last thing I always ask, we don't have time to go through all of it, is who will you lead it to? Lead it with. Who will you share it with? Lead it. Leading is giving it away. When you lead, you give it away. And so my question to you would be, who are you going to lead with and have a discussion with? Okay. So next steps, just so you guys know, as we finish up in our last minute here, I do half-day, full-day team building exercises and workshops. You can let me know if that's something you're interested in to bring to your company. I'm going to look at doing a team building training and workshop this summer. So you can follow me on social media, Rick Thorson, and Instagram, and I'll be posting things there. I'd love for you to sign up for our monthly newsletter called Leader's Edge. It's a monthly newsletter that we share. There'll be a link in there. I'm asked the team to drop the link in to this last month. It went out Friday. Some of you already get it. The leadership newsletter I sent out this last week. If you don't get it, would like to get it every month, please sign up for that. We'd love for you to do that. But we would love to continue to serve you. Again, half-day, full-day workshops are available on this topic, and I'd love to come in and customize those for you and your organization. And lastly, as an organization with Right Now Leadership, this is something I worked on with one of the companies that I work with, but it's a tiered approach. I do employee training and engagement. I do employee integration, helping them integrate into their team and their organization, and then we help with employee retention. And right now, that's a big deal, right? And working with Metro Staffing, who lives in this space. If you have any issues or questions or challenges you need in the workforce with candidates or jobs, you need to reach out to them because they're more than just a staffing company filling jobs. They're on the cutting edge of communicating the current trends, what's happening, where the industry is going. and what's happening with the workforce. And so please reach out to them. They're on the chat with you if you have any questions. So for those of you guys that are online, we are at 1 o'clock straight up. Thank you for being a part. Here's the last thing. Next month, we're going to take the month off for some of you. I've talked to Chad, and what we're going to do is I'm going to do an HR roundtable. We're going to meet here. I'm going to buy lunch to anyone who is an HR support, a director that works in HR. We're going to do a roundtable. I'm going to buy you lunch. I'm going to share some thoughts, some trends that we're seeing and things I'm working on. But really, we're going to talk, and I'm going to ask questions. I want to hear from you what you're seeing and experiencing in the industry right now. What are the greatest needs that you have, the pain points that you have? Because I'm continuing to evolve and build out what I do as a business. And the best way to do that is to ask questions. So next month, there will be a meeting. We're going to meet here, but it will not be Zoom or virtual. It will be in person, and it will be anyone involved in HR. We're going to do an HR roundtable and invite HR specialists to come. I'll provide you lunch. It'll be for just an hour, and we're going to talk through some of the current challenges and issues that we're facing in the workforce and where we're headed with it. So you guys that have joined me today, thank you so much. I appreciate you being here and investing in yourself. I say this all the time. I'm believing that your best is yet to come. I believe we are created for more impact and influence, more future and more hope. I don't know what your impact, your influence is, but I'd love to help you discover that, and your organization help you discover that. So reach out and let me know how I can serve you. So until next time, God bless you guys, and thanks for being a part of this month's Transformational Leadership Seminar.
Hit stop.
Yep. Yeah. Awesome. We're going to do a drawing, so let me get that for you guys that are in here. The books are actually sitting at my front door. They got delivered today, so I'm going to need to make sure I've got your information. I don't have cards from everybody in here. If you want a chance to win the 17 Laws Teamwork, you guys put a card in here, or if you need to put a name on a card, I'll give you my card and put your name on it. Do I have everybody else? I know you're giving them. Anybody else want to put a card in? Yes, ma'am. You have one? So let me give you one of my cards. You can write your name on it. You got one? Okay, great. Oh, awesome. Well, you've already got one of my cards. Well, I'm gonna trade with you. I'm gonna trade with you. There you go. There you go. Anybody else? We have them all? Yes, ma'am.
It says I need to still end the live.
Huh?
End the live because they can still hear us.
Yes, and
Where?
red button right there. Sorry, guys. Thank you. See you. Yes.